Let me tell you, I was immediately rudely welcomed into B5 S4 ownership. What's going on, everyone? I'm Eli. Welcome back to another IgnitionTube video. If you're new here, well, this car is new to me. I just picked it up in the last video. It's a 2000 Audi B5 S4. It is bone stock other than some coilovers and a catback, and it's got 180,000 miles on it, and one of the power steering lines just clogged. Let me tell you the whole story, and then we're gonna try to fix it. So I went and got the B5 registered on a Thursday, drove up, got the plates, drove back home. On Friday, my son stays with his grandmother. So at the end of Friday, I said, hey, let's take the B5 and we'll go pick up the little man. He is super excited about this car because I told him it would be loud and fun and all of that kind of stuff. So of course, something was bound to happen on that drive because we left the SQ5 at the house. I went to pick him up in this. Now, we're merging onto the highway and I shifted in a fourth and I look in the rear view and there's like a cloud of smoke. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. But we were late to pick him up, so instead of turning around going to get the SQ5, I just kept driving. Now we got off the highway, we got to a red light, and I went to turn the wheel and I heard the sound that, you know, power steering makes when it got no fluid in it. Yeah, I was not so happy about that one. I figured the car had lost power steering fluid. Cam, my buddy who sold me the car, actually said that when he came to drop the car off, the power steering reservoir was empty for whatever reason. So he had filled it up. He thought really nothing of it. These cars do wonky things all the time. But it turns out there was something wrong. And so I drove it from there back home and got to the garage, and basically it looked like this. This trim piece usually sits in here like this. I've actually already started the repair, but trim piece was entirely covered in fluid. And if you looked in there, the power steering fluid was at the top of the fill line on the dipstick. Same story now. That was weird because the pump was making some noises. I'll insert a video here of what it sounded like. So anyway, I sent the footage to my buddy Omar. I said, Omar, what do you think this is? He goes, there is a check valve clogged somewhere. He said on this side, the far side of the reservoir, there's a line that goes down underneath. There's a section of check valves apparently, which we're gonna have to go digging for today. And he says to cut that section out, see what happens. So without further ado, now that the B5 is broken, let's dive into fixing it. And hopefully we don't have to replace a power steering pump. Okay, so that little hose there has two one-time clamps on it, top and bottom. That's where the check valve is. My homie Omar hooked us up with the valuable information. So Pound has the hose clamp off of this side of the power steering reservoir. And now we're underneath the car. Trying to cut one of these one-time use clamp, this clamp right here. How we feeling, Pound? How's your first B5 S4 experience?
I think I was the one that originally told you to not buy one years ago.
So you and I went to look at that blue one.
Long time ago.
I have Instagram posts of that car from almost May 2013. It's almost 10 years ago. Did almost pull the trigger. And now here we are 10 years later in our own shop with heat. We're still working on the floor. We don't have a jack or a lift yet, but it's out.
This is way better than working in our driveways, I'll say that.
She ain't got much in her. Uh-oh, I'm stuck. Wow. All that for that tiny line? That thing is not big at all.
Yeah, that check valve is definitely right there.
Check valve right there.
Feel it.
Wow, that is a tiny line. We did all that work for that? Yeah, there's like no air coming out of that. It's all coming. Yeah. Do I have power steering on my mouth?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Ooh, a little. It doesn't taste good.
Here, come look at me. It's got little schmitz on the.
I'm going to get alcohol pipe. What's the guy? He goes, why is it spicy? That's how I feel right now.
Yeah, right on the corner. Right here, on the corner, other side. There you go.
All right, I'm ready for dinner now. Nice. Okay, here's what we're working with. Replace the old one-time connector down here with a hose clamp. Come up here. We have a brass fitting connector, hose clamp on either side, some AutoZone tubing, which is 280 for that section, like 230 or something like that. So about 3 feet of it, just in case. I'll have one in my trunk. I can make another line for here in case this ever fails. But it replaces this section, which has the little holes inside of it. That section fully replaced with something that just passes right through. And then we go right up to the top where I put another hose clamp. This kit's super nifty, straight off of Amazon. I'm using the 10 to 16 millimeter ones down here. Hopefully they hold. I'll put a couple extra in the car just in case, and an extra section of hose as well. And that should be all we need. B5 S4 doesn't just use any power steering fluid. It uses Pentasyn CHF 11S, because why would Audi make it easy? How are we leaking? This funnel crack? Oh, this funnel has a giant crack in it. That is above full now. So we overfilled it slightly, but I think there has to be air in the system. I don't know if I want to bleed it because it's 10:30 at night, and I don't think the people next door will be very happy, but at the same time, I don't know if it works. So, I might just send it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Prepare for liftoff. That is not good. Well, that was fun. I have since been informed that you need to bleed the power steering fluid in a B5 with the engine off. It's late at night, and I am the bearer of bad B5 news. Well, not the worst B5 news because it's fixable, but remember how at the beginning of the video I said I asked Omar if I would smoke the power steering pump driving back with no fluid feeding to the pump, and he said, most likely? Well, that's what we did. And, well, I'll show you the video first. I got everything bled. You have to turn the car off, bleed it with the car off, and then turn the car on and let it kind of cycle the bubbles out of the system. And don't put the cap on while you're doing that, or it's going to end up shooting more stuff out. I had to leave the cap off, bleed it with the system off, 5 turns back and forth. Then I turned the car on and let it kind of do its thing. Then I shut the car off, did 5 turns back and forth, turned the car on, did a couple turns with it on. Eventually, the system quieted down, and the fluid coming back into the reservoir was not as kind of choppy, but the power steering pump sounded like this. This is where we're at. There's still bubbles coming out of there, but it's way less bubbly than before. And it's screaming here. So, under here, straight under the middle of there, is a power steering pump. And on the interwebs, there is not a single DIY for how to replace a power steering pump. So, next week's video, we're going to be replacing the power steering pump on this car. I'm going to figure it out somehow. And I'm going to post that video so that the next person who runs into this, who has their check valve clog or something like that, they'll know how to do it. So, yeah. B5 ownership. Honestly, it could be worse. It's just a line and a pump so far. A pump is $200. I'd have Super Euro. And now I have a lifetime replacement guarantee on the pump. So, seems like a no-brainer. We'll knock that out. I'll learn the process. I can explain the process to you guys, and then hopefully I can help other B5ers in the future, because we all know these cars love to break. My buddy Zach goes, wow, those cars really just don't want to exist. I think this thing does want to exist. I think it wants to be fast. I think it's sick of 180,000 miles of stock driving. So we'll get the power steering pump fixed up. We're gonna get some wheels on it. We're gonna get our looking sharp. We'll do the paint correction. We'll do the detail. And then we're going for it. Not too crazy. Not too crazy. We're not doing like built motor single turbo yet, unless the videos do really well and that YouTube money starts coming in. But for now, we have some mods stacked up. I bought myself a lot of Christmas presents for this car, and I'm really excited about it. So until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Join me on this B5 journey. Go out there, spread some positivity, and I will catch you guys in the next video. B5.